Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, I see you now.
We are live.
Okay. Do we know, can we see the people that are in the group, or is there a way of
46 people that are on right now. So
cool.
Why don't we tell people where we are in the world and invite them to share with us where they are in the world.
All right, cool. Well, I'm in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So I live here.
And I'm in Houston, Texas, not too far up the Gulf Coast.
Yeah. So if you're in the if you're on the webinar right now, just type us a little comment and let us know where you're from and where you're tuned in from.
It takes a minute for the chat to sort of repopulate, so we can just dive right in.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do that. Well, first of all, I just want to welcome everybody here today. I am really excited about this interview. As you know, I haven't done a whole lot of interviews, but this is a particularly special one. My very, very good friend, Alan Davidson, is here with us today. And he's going to be sharing a technique that I had the opportunity to kind of sample when he was just kind of just trying to put this together and just see if, how people react to it and respond to it. And my initial experience with this was so unbelievable that, as soon as he asked me if this is something that I would want to share with you guys, I said, absolutely yes. So I'm really, really excited about what we're going to do today. We're going to, I'm going to ask Alan, about his method. I'm going to introduce Alan in a minute. I'm going to ask him about his method, and then we're actually going to do a demonstration with you guys. And that's my favorite part. So you guys will actually get a taste of what this amazing, amazing method does. And you'll be able to actually experience it for yourself. So just jumping right in. So Alan, he's the creator of the Enlightened Tapping and the founder of ThroughYourBody.com. He's the author of Body Brilliance, Mastering Your 5 Vital Intelligences, and he is the #1 best-selling health and wellness, which is the #1 best-selling health and wellness book. And he's also the winner of 2 National Book of the Year awards. Alan is serving the Center of the Integral Wisdom as a sitting board member, along with Ken Wilber, Mark Ganfey, Barbara Hubbard, Sally Kempton, Michael Beckwith, and Jack Canfield, and a whole other host of world-class spiritual leaders. So among the other amazing things that Alan is so brilliant at, he has a BS with an emphasis in psychology, sociology, philosophy, and religion. He's fascinated with the intersection of bodywork, psychology, and spiritual practice. Alan's taught massage, meditation, energy medicine, movement, and human transformation since 1990. And Alan, I heard that you are going to be speaking at Harvard in a couple of months. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yes. The ex-meth junkie drag queen bartender to the fabulous has finally arrived.
That is quite a prestigious thing.
Well, I do. I feel very honored. I've been invited to teach meditation, share my enlightened tapping technique. It's a day at Harvard Faculty Center with 70 thought leaders from all over the world in short TED type talks. And they've asked me to speak to the tipping point of consciousness that we're sort of cresting and riding in humanity today, and how entrepreneurs, particularly enlightened entrepreneurs, will have an impact on that tipping point of consciousness. So I'm delighted and honored.
Wow, that's incredible. That's just amazing to be able to speak to those people. Just a minute ago, you mentioned something, and I know you personally. You've been my good friend for years, so I know about your colorful background. But I think your story is so interesting, and I would love for you to share your story with kind of how you grew up and what you struggled with, and then how you got into this, field of meditation and now teaching enlightenment?
Well, sure. Let's do the Cliff Notes version of it here.
Okay.
So, but I moved to Houston in 1980 and immediately went to work in the gay nightclub scene, and also fell very quickly into a group of people who were doing IV drugs and methamphetamine in particular. And that was my lifestyle for really almost 8 years. It's a very, very long time to be an IV drug user. And when we first learned that HIV/AIDS was caused by a virus, I just assumed that I would die a very painful and agonizing death because I had shared needles with men who had already died from AIDS. So I just assumed that I was HIV positive.
Wow.
And when I finally got clean and sober in 1988, I had to decide, am I making short-term plans for my life or am I making long-term plans for my life? I happened to live with a medical doctor who was an AIDS specialist at the time. And he kept saying, Alan, I think you might be negative. You're just too healthy. Alan, I think you might be negative. You're just too healthy. And he just said that over and over and over for 6 months. So I began to think maybe against all odds that I was healthy. And I went to the local AIDS clinic here in Houston, and very quick, in those days you had to wait 2 weeks for the results. So it was a scary 2 weeks, but the results were that I was and still am HIV negative. I knew I had played Russian roulette with my life, but that the divine spirit, universal intelligence, the goddess, whatever you choose to call the ultimate wisdom, she had placed her hand on my shoulder and spared me. And I didn't know exactly what for, but I left the clinic that day vowing to get my act together. I was already sober, but to really start to use and share the talents that I had been given. And 6 months later, I found myself in massage school, and that would be just a paradigm shift in my own healing with my body, my heart, and my mind, but then gave me an avenue to start to become a healer and work with the other people in my community.
Wow, that's so amazing. That's such a great story. I just love it. And it's so incredible when you can overcome those kind of odds, and you're just doing such incredible work out in the world now. So we're all so happy that you're here. Well, why don't you tell us about what this enlightened tapping is? So, you've said in some of your classes before that it's a perfect blend of East meets West. So tell me kind of more about that, what you mean by that.
Well, one of the things I love about the time we find ourselves, I personally take the view that it's an incredibly exciting time to be a human being, and that we are on a tipping point of consciousness and evolution and transformation. And the World Wide Web has made available not only everything that we can do from East and West, but then everything from the beginning and the history of time. I'm hearing a little bit of echo in the background.
I'm fine. I don't hear that.
Okay, great. All right, fabulous.
But if it's bugging you, we can pause and get that situated.
No, if you can't hear it, then perhaps everybody else is cool too. Great.
Okay.
But coming into this East and West and the entire history of the world, the perennial wisdom of the entire world is now available to us with a couple of keystrokes. And so as we begin to look at the tools that really help us with personal development, we look at the classic teachings of Eastern meditation and enlightenment, and then the very best of modern psychology. And enlightened tapping blends them beautifully together. particularly with modern work of American Zen master Genpo Roshi, and then the great psychologists from the West like Carl Jung and Fritz Perls and Helen Sidra Stone, who created voice dialogue. And the idea that we have archetypes or personalities or voices within us that we can speak to and dialogue with them.
So is that the biggest thing, like in your experience, is that the biggest issue when, you know, someone is trying to become enlightened, which, you know, I think people just, I guess that's the goal. Maybe not that many people talk about it, but, you know, when they sit down and they start to meditate, that's their goal. Would you say that, what would you say the biggest block is that keeps people from reaching that enlightened state?
Well, let me say something about just general happiness first. You know, I think most people just have an impulse to be happy in their lives. And we grow up, you and I have both had, you know, sort of traumatic lifetimes. And, you know, we as human beings, we develop defenses to protect us and to keep us safe. And sometimes we end up paying a really high price for some of those defenses. So the goal, I think, is to work within our own head, our own psyche in such a way that we can just be happy. And then for those that are really inspired, spiritual enlightenment is sort of the ultimate highest level of joy and ecstasy and peace. So let me just sort of say what I think enlightenment is and share that. We talk about that our personality, that voice in our head that is constantly liking, disliking things that happened in the past or that are happening in the present moment, or we're wanting or not wanting things that are going to happen in the future. And it's just on and on and on. And it's 70,000 to 80,000 thoughts the average person has every day. And it's usually that same stream of liking and disliking, wanting, not wanting, critiquing, opinionated, judging. And it can drive a girl crazy, quite frankly.
It can, girl.
and that's why some people, when they sit to meditate, have such a hard time, because all you hear is that voice in your head. Yeah. So in Eastern meditation, Eastern enlightenment, you're able to transcend your personality and that voice in your head, and you go to this amazing place of oneness that is still and quiet and very impersonal. So people report that sort of witness awareness or being one with all that is. And that personality that you were is just this speck of stardust in the created universes. And so it's a very peaceful, very joyful, very exquisite sort of feeling. So that's one way to describe it. Another way, I'm going to try something here real quick. Another way is the work of David Hawkins in his book, Power versus Force. And maybe you or some of your readers are familiar with it, but he described human consciousness on a scale of 0 to 1,000. And
yeah, I love that. That was really cool.
Right. And so 0 to 100 are sort of the toxic emotions of shame and fear and anger and resentment and grief. And then at 200, you cross into courage. At 400, you cross into reason. At 500, it's love. And then at 700, there is that ecstatic shift into enlightenment, that amazing stillness and peace and exquisite being with all that is. So it's a vibrational shift, it's a state of mind, but it also, what I love, Brittany, is that the bridge between East and West is actually the human body, our physical bodies. So, and 7 billion on the planet, 7 billion people on the planet, and we all have a human body. We all have the tool that we need to train the voice in our head and actually become enlightened.
It's incredible. I absolutely did not think that. I was not expecting, before my experience, I was not expecting to have that kind of experience. Like, I didn't really understand what you meant by everybody can achieve enlightenment. But once we went through it, it's really incredible. You really can have that feeling, and it can last. Yeah, I was just looking at the comments, and they're saying that I think you do have some feedback going. So
yeah, several people are saying I'm not wearing a headset. Actually, everybody, I am wearing a professional presenter's headset. And I don't know where the echo's coming from. I've done 7 of these interviews in the last week, and this is the first time this has happened. So it could be just a Google thing. And I'm not sure if I can pop out and try to come back in and see if that helps it. You want to try that?
Okay, yeah, let's try that.
Okay, give me just a second.
All right, no worries. All right. Get that man on a headset. All right. Hi.
Hello there.
So I don't hear an echo, so we're going to have to ask the group if they hear an echo.
I hear it.
Oh,
Let me try something else.
Okay.
Brittany, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yep.
I can't hear you with this. Let me try something.
Thanks, Jody.
Can you hear that?
I can hear you fine. That sounds good to me. Let's ask the group.
Okay, so let's try this with this headset and see if you guys...
Yay. Okay, somebody said awesome.
All right, great.
Okay. All right, cool.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Yes, thanks. It's hard with these live things. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, well, I would love for you to talk about some of the voices and the imagery that you use, because that was a really powerful experience for me. So they haven't had this experience with you yet, so they don't really understand how you work with the voices. But can you maybe just tell us, like, how you came up with this idea of, and like kind of how does it work? Like how is it that I was able to experience, for me, when we were doing it, you brought in the energy of the Divine Mother. You got us tapping into the energy of the Divine Mother. And, I've been working with a lot of, femininity and learning about my femininity more, and the Divine Mother, that energy. And it was just, oh my God, I wanted to just curl up like a baby and lay there with a blanket for hours. And so, the way you got there was really interesting, and it was working with these voices and using the imagery. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about how you discovered this and how you came up with this method? Because it's so interesting.
Right. Well, like I said, I stand on the shoulder of giants of echoes. There's still an echo. I'm still hearing it, Brittany, so I don't know what to say or do for people. Would you plug your headset, unplug it and replug it back in. Just try that.
Okay, so this is no headset. Hello, hello.
Okay, and let me see if there's an echo on my end. I'm not hearing an echo on my end.
You're not hearing one anymore.
Nope. So how about that, everybody in the chat?
Yeah, that's cool. I don't need a.
Okay, great.
Cool.
All right, fabulous. Okay, so it was your headset and not mine. All right,
All right.
fabulous. Okay, so wonderful. The voices in our head have multiple voices or multiple subpersonalities. So, we're fortunate in that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And because of the work of Carl Jung in the last 125 years and the great Jungian therapists and analysts and Fritz Perls and Gestalt therapy, it's the sense that we have these voices within us. And most of you have heard of an inner critic, or Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body or the innocent and vulnerable child. And in my practice, we say, well, there's 10,000 voices of the separate self or the personality. And so if I'll tell you a story. Maizumi Roshi was the leader of the LA Zen Center, and he was a Japanese Zen master. And he'd come to America, and he realized that the Americans were able to sit in stillness and sit in meditation, but then they would get up off their cushions and, pardon my French, but they would continue to be assholes to each other. They were very competitive. They were mean-spirited. So the meditation with the American psyche wasn't working in the way it does with the Japanese psyche. And so Maizumi Roshi invited Hal Stone and his wife Sidra, who were a Jungian analysts and had developed this body of work called voice dialogue, of working with the different voices within the self. And so Genpo Roshi had the experience of witnessing how people became kinder to each other by working with their own inner voices and sort of coming to a place of peace within their own self. They were able to be better meditators and certainly be better in the community with each other. And then eventually, many years later, Genpo started to ask the question, well, if we have these voices of our personality, do we have access to the enlightened voices that Zen says are already always there? And the answer to that is yes, we do. We have access to that. And then I studied with Genpo for many years, and then I layered the EFT tapping in some more shadow work with it and created the experience that you had, Brittany, when we were together.
So you just started playing with it. Like, I mean, I talk about my experience with coming up with the echo tapping technique, and how there was this one moment where I pushed the food away instead of eating it, and I just kind of process it. Just play with this. Was this like an experimental thing for you, or?
Say that again. Ask me that again, my dear.
So I talk about my experience with echo tapping and how there was this moment where, instead of eating the food, I decided to push it away, and I asked myself all these questions, and I developed this method. So I guess I'm wondering that about you. It's a unique way of working with tapping. How did you discover it? Were you kind of playing with it over the years, and you just do it one day and it worked, or how did?
Well, I knew that with the voice dialogue, when I experienced, so Genpo called his work Big Mind Meditation, and he's quite known throughout the world in the Zen and meditation world for Big Mind. But it's based on voice dialogue and then working with the enlightened voices. And I was actually at an event at Margaret Lynch's the very first year she did her Ignite Your Power. And I was standing at the back of the room, and I was watching her in an audience of about 160 people do shadow work and shadow tapping. And I thought, I was blown away. I'd only ever seen shadow work done one-on-one before. And for her to hold the space in a room of people and tapping and doing shadow work. And I got one of those spiritual downloads of how to integrate all of my passions and fascinations and things that I've been studying. And, it was sort of revealed to me, this is your body of work. Now, it took me facilitating a group over a year, about 9 months, really. Every other Friday night, I and a group of people got together and we just explored, how do you facilitate this? How do you make it work with the tapping, working with the voices? And so by the time I got to share it with you in Boston, Enlightened Tapping had been birthed.
Right. Okay. That's so cool. Love that. All right. So do you have, how are we doing here? Brittany, your voice is breaking up. We can't win today, can we?
Yeah. The communication gods are having some fun with. Maybe if you just plug your headset back in, maybe that will help clarify it. So.
Okay, how's that for me? Hello, hello.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to you?
And I don't hear an echo yet, so maybe we've hit Eureka here.
All right. Good. Let's see. Let's wait for a few more comments. No sound. No sound?
I think they were just saying you were breaking up. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, how do you feel, Alan? Do you feel like we introduced it well enough? Do you think that we can go into a demonstration of this now? Is there anything that we need to prepare these people for? Do they need to know anything before we start?
Sure. And so everybody, we're going to do a demonstration of enlightened tapping. So just a couple of things. So hopefully the sound is fixed and we can sort of just jump right into the experience of it. And that's the really important thing. The background is wonderful entertainment for the mind, but it's like the promise for everybody that's still on the line and hanging in there was with your patience. Thank you so much. Is that, in about 20 or 25 minutes, you're going to have a full-on Satori enlightened experience to go from that personal voice in your head self to that very expanded working with stillness, working with the Divine Mother. So give us about 20, 25 minutes and we'll all make the shift together. My experience of whether I'm facilitating this in a group of people live with literally hundreds of people, or whether we're doing it, I saw people from Australia and all over America. There's somebody that's awake in the UK that's on the chat with us. So this network of energy that we've created just in this group, 99% of people have the experience and are able to shift. So just hang in there with us. So it is first and foremost about how to work with the voices within us and then how to tap with those voices. So there are just a couple of simple rules that will help ensure that you get the experience. Now, one thing I want you to know, it might seem like, Brittany's getting a private session with me, but she is the ambassador. She's representing all of you collectively, and she's the feedback loop. As I said, if we were together live, everybody in the room would be sharing, what their experience of the controller, that'll be the first voice that we speak to, is, or the voice of desire, or the voice of stillness. We would be collectively, but I haven't figured out a way in a Google Hangout like this in a live demonstration to open it to everybody. So just please allow Brittany to be your ambassador. But as we speak to a voice, the first thing is actually shifting in your chair. So it's that physical movement of your body that is sort of like changing the channel on your satellite dish or your television or your radio station. And as you're moving, imagine that your normal everyday self is sort of being teased energetically out of you and is actually sitting in a chair next to you in the room someplace. And so what's left is the voice that I've asked to speak to, the controller, or the next voice. And so that's the important distinction. The normal everyday self is sort of in a chair somewhere in the room next to you, and I'm speaking to the controller, and speak from the I place. I'm the controller. I control what she says or what she thinks or how she feels or what she wears or how she eats or her calendar. Whatever is true for you as the controller. The second thing is to allow this to be an exercise in deep listening. It is a meditation. So it is an invitation to drop out of your head and sort of listen in your body what's true for you in this voice, particularly when we get to the enlightened voices. Now, you'll hear me asking questions based on literally the thousands and thousands of people that I facilitated with this process, and on what Brittany herself saying, what people are entering in the chat. So that's that. The other thing, and there is a built-in safety mechanism here, so I invite you to use that, and you'll hear Brittany and I go over that in a minute. I might ask to speak to a voice. When I get to the Divine Mother, you might know, what the heck is that? I don't know what that is. That's perfectly fine. Shift in your bodies and come to a place of stillness and just listen deeply and let that voice reveal its mystery to you. That's part of the beauty of this process, because just as there's 10,000 voices of the psyche and the personality, there's these 10,000 voices of enlightenment that have been explored and written about and shared about for well over 4,000 years. And they're already always available to you in many, many of their beautiful nuances and subtleties. And so just listen to what's true for you. And then when we get to the tapping, I'll just say a few words about the tapping at that point. So other than that, Miss Brittany, are you ready for a demonstration?
I'm ready. And are they going to be following along with us and repeating after you and me?
So we're going to shift and we're going to dialogue with the controller for a moment. So I'll be asking you in the chat to enter, okay, what do you sense and feel as the controller?
Got it.
And then certainly we'll do some tapping, and then we'll be saying, okay, what do you sense and feel after the tapping with this voice?
Right. Okay.
And that's when sort of people really start to get a sense of the power of working with the voices in this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Good. I'm ready to go.
All right, great. So let me speak to the controller, please. And everybody shifting in your seats and coming to a place. And who am I speaking to?
The controller.
And what's your job?
To control and manage everything that Brittany does.
That sounds like a full schedule right there.
It's exhausting.
All right. Yes. So
can we stay on the controller for a little while today?
Absolutely. We've got a litany of things that you do. So what are some of the things that you control for her?
Oh, her schedule, her appointments, the way she feels, the way she acts, her company, the people that work for her, everything.
Yeah.
Her food, her exercise.
Right. So, let's just sort of start with body, mind, spirit. So even in the physical body, her body, there's all these sensations that are flowing through the nervous system all the time. And you sort of say, okay, we're going to notice these and focus on these, and the others are just going to be unconscious. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a sense of that. Or like the emotions flowing through her heart center. It's like, oh, okay, most of them are in the background as a mood, but hey, there's a flash of this emotion. We're going to notice that. And, that's going to trigger a thought or a story. We're going to notice the story that generates. Mm-hmm. So as a controller, you're really in the background, really managing a lot of that sort of body, mind, spirit experience. Mm-hmm. And then layered on top of that, there's the, her calendar, what time she gets up in the morning, her exercise, her meditation, what she eats, the people she surrounds herself with, all of her commitments with her work and her company and all of that. Mm-hmm. So that's an extraordinary amount of control that you're managing for her. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Why do you work so hard for her?
Well, if I don't do it, then who's going to do it?
Exactly. That's certainly it. If you don't do it, who's going to? But if you even look deeper than that, would you say one of the reasons that you control so much is just to make sure that she's safe and happy?
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you might have a definition of what's safe and happy than maybe than Brittany does, than the self does.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about that difference sometimes.
Well, often I think there's other parts of Brittany that want to go out and go to the beach and have fun, but there's other things that I need to get done. And so often I'll choose to get the things done versus go out and have fun and play on the beach with my dog.
Right. So there's a part of her that just wants to go play on the beach and have fun, and there's a part of you that sort of negotiates that. We'll do a little bit of your work and get some responsible stuff done, and then you can go play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, great. So as a controller, would you say one of the functions that you have is actually controlling when some of the other voices come out and hit the spotlight?
Definitely.
Yeah. So just say a little bit about that.
Well, I think the other voices have to scream pretty loud for me to pay attention to them.
Hmm. Yeah.
But when I do, I'm always really happy that I have paid attention to them. But usually they have to do something major to get my attention.
Okay. All right. But even as the controller, you've got some allies that help you do your job, like the protector, and sometimes it's when she wants to go have fun and frolic on the beach, you say, okay, it's time to go do that. And you let that voice that's responsible for fun and frolicking, she can come out and enjoy the spotlight.
Yeah, she needs to come out a little more often, I think.
I bet she thinks so too. Okay, so and as a controller, have you sort of determined that there are some voices that are just too dangerous to come out at all? She would get herself in trouble if she let those voices speak.
Whew, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So sort of one job is you sort of keep some of those voices sort of in the basement or even locked away in the dungeon there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, great. All right. So if that's one of your functions of controlling the other voices, it would make sense if I ask your permission tonight to speak to some of the other voices.
Okay.
You say sound a little reticent there.
Yes, you have my permission.
Okay, great. And I'm going to ask two commitments from you. One, that um, if at any time during this experience you feel threatened or concerned for the self, that you will stop the process and let me know.
Okay.
Okay. Because I know how important the job that you do for her is. And I want to make sure that you are in 100%, cool with what we're doing. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And the second commitment is once we do shift into some of these other voices, that you, as best you can, give me a crystal clear channel to speak to those voices.
Okay.
Okay, good. Good. And I would just invite any people that are in the chat, if you sort of have a sense of the many different jobs that your controller does for you, go ahead and enter those into the chat for us. And we're going to get ready to tap in just a moment. So a couple things about the tapping. I use the short form, very similar to what Brittany teaches, made famous in Nick Ortner's book, The Tapping Solution. Margaret Lynch uses it. Many of the popular teachers now are using the short form, but I'm just going to demonstrate it so that we're all on the same page. So it's the inner eye point, the outer eye point, under the eye point right here on the zygomatic ridge, the notch right there, under the nose, chin, where your collarbone comes and meets your breastbone. There's an indentation on both sides. About 4 inches under the armpit, there's a point right on the rib, both sides. That's a lymphatic point, or one of the water meridians in acupressure, puncture, and then the top of the head. So those are the tapping points. We got some things coming in on the chat here. So let's just see. Tony's like the protector, the scheduler. S says controls my emotions. Absolutely. That's a primary job. Karen, mine overrides most of the other voices, kind of like a veto. Excellent. Alicia keeps me safe and rational. Janine says, oh, it's a guardian. Jody says, keeps anger from getting out there so others don't think I'm angry. Yep. Excellent. Let me see. There's Denise Simpson says, perfect sound. Hello, Miss Denise. And so beautiful. So that's great. So now we're going to do some tapping with the controller. And I'm going to use some of the things that Brittany said and some of the things that I've heard over the years working with this voice. If you're in a place that you can tap out loud, that's perfect. That'll really help. The other thing that I do a little differently, and this is a meditation, so it is about balancing right and left hemispheres of the brain and going from the beta brainwaves to alpha brainwaves to theta and even into some of the delta brainwaves. We'll get to some of those this evening. So I tend to tap both sides of the head. That's what I do. That feels good to me. I'm not attached to that. You can try it. Or if you have another form of tapping that you like, or you like the long form or use different points that I do, I am not attached to the points. The thing is that you just use the points and use some of the words and work with the voices. So that said, Miss Brittany, are you ready to do some tapping?
I am.
Okay, great. So I'm the controller.
I'm the controller.
And I am in control.
And I'm in control.
And I have had decades to practice.
And I've had decades to practice.
Years and years to hone my skills.
Years and years to hone my skills.
And I am damn good at what I do.
And I'm damn good at what I do.
I'm a really good controller.
I'm a really good controller.
She would be a mess without me.
She would be a mess without me.
She would just be out there having all kinds of fun.
She would just be out there having all kinds of fun.
And nothing would ever get done.
And nothing would ever get done.
I am in control.
I am in control.
I control what she senses.
I control what she senses.
I control the emotions that flow through her heart.
I control the emotions that flow through her heart.
Emotions like anger.
Emotions like anger.
Or fear.
Or fear.
Or shame or grief.
Or shame or grief.
I try to keep them under control.
I try to keep them under control.
I control what she thinks.
I control what she thinks.
And the stories that she tells herself.
And the stories that she tells herself.
I control what she does.
I control what she does.
How she acts.
How she acts.
What she wears.
What she wears.
The people she's around.
The people that she's around.
All the responsibilities in her business.
All the responsibilities in her business.
So much to control.
So much to control.
I am awfully busy.
I'm awfully busy.
It's a good thing I like controlling.
It's a good thing I like controlling.
And I also control the other voices.
And I also control the other voices.
When they come out into the spotlight.
When they come out into the spotlight.
At what intensity they come.
And what intensity they come.
And how long they get to stay.
And how long they get to stay.
And some of the voices are just too dangerous.
And some of the voices are just too dangerous.
Yawning is good.
Mm-hmm.
If some of those voices got out, she would be in trouble.
If some of those voices got out, she would be in trouble.
So I keep them in the basement.
So I keep them in the basement.
And they rarely get the light of day.
And they rarely get the light of day.
It's just part of my job.
It's just part of my job.
I'm the controller.
I'm the controller.
And I am in control.
And I'm in control.
And I'm glad somebody finally appreciates the job that I do.
And I'm glad somebody finally appreciates the job I do.
Here I am working 24/7.
Here I am working 24/7.
She might get a vacation on the beach.
She might get a vacation on the beach.
But I sure don't.
But I sure don't.
Somebody's got to get things done.
Somebody's got to get things done. I'm such a yawner.
Fabulous. All right. I'm the controller.
I'm the controller.
And I give my permission to speak.
And I give my permission to speak.
To some of the other voices tonight.
to some of the other voices tonight.
And I make 2 commitments.
And I make 2 commitments.
If I feel threatened in any way,
if I feel threatened in any way,
I will stop the process.
I will stop the process.
Because my ultimate job
is
to keep the self safe and happy.
Is to keep the self safe and happy.
And that's why I work so hard.
And that's why I work so hard.
And my second commitment is as best I can. I will give a crystal clear channel. To the other voices when they speak. I am the controller. And I am in service to the self. And take a breath and shake that out. If you've got some water, have a little sip of water. Always good in energy medicine to have a cup of water.
I do.
And just take a moment, just sort of really just relax, sit upright. And what are you sensing in your body? What do you notice about the controller now after the tapping? So those of you, feel free to enter something into the chat. And Miss Brittany, what are you sensing and feeling?
You know, I feel this calmness, and I feel like there's this this amped up energy that where it feels like I'm always on guard. I feel like that's dropped now. And there was a big part with the acknowledging that I do such a hard, that voice is such a, does such a hard job and is always working and all of that. There was something about that was really nice for me.
So you said several important things there. One, you sort of have this amped up energy of, I call it hypervigilance. And then after the tapping, it's calmed down. So it's, there's a little more relaxation and openness in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And that also just how nice it is to be appreciated for all the work that you do.
Yeah.
Corinna says calm and heard. Janine is the controller is relaxed. Patty says relaxed. Muriel is she's going to take a break. Tony is she's relaxed. Cliff says relaxing. Hello to one of the fellow men out in the audience there.
Nice.
Alicia says, I've got a lot to do. Yes, you do. And actually part of this the work is about introducing you, the controller, to some other voices and other allies that can help you do your job better. So that's sort of the promise as we move through this whole demonstration, is to actually give you some allies that will help you. Christine says, I am seen and respected. I feel as though the controller is being questioned. Cheryl, if you want to enter a little bit more about that, just so I can sort of understand what you mean by that. Jody saying, I didn't know there were any other voices, only me, the controller. Alas, yes, there are. And, it's not unusual for a particular voice to sort of become fused with, oh, that's who I think I am. And so part of, starting to do this work and getting used to this work is realizing, oh, wow, there's lots of different voices. There's a difference between the controller and the voice of desire, or the pain body, or the vulnerable child, or the seeking mind. So it's just teasing those out. Well, beautiful. Okay, well, you ready to move on and speak to another voice?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So everybody at home, thank you. And now shifting in your chairs, please let me speak to the voice of desire.
Oh,
and besides
boy.
What do you desire?
Oh, you had to go here, didn't you? Okay.
Yes, I did. Just for a minute. We'll up the ante a little bit in just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you desire?
Oh, yumminess.
Mm-hmm. Yumminess. Say a little bit more about yumminess.
I desire just yumminess and pleasure and soft silks on my body and hot bubble baths and amazing food and fabulous vacations and just yumminess.
Okay. So, there's the yumminess and there's sort of the sensual physical pleasures like silks on your body and hot bubble baths and fabulous vacations and delicious foods. So, since I do know some things about you, it's like, just the yumminess of beautiful, heartfelt conversations and connection with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And you're newly married, so the yumminess of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else do you desire?
Mm. I desire freedom and openness and expansion and connection.
hmm So desiring freedom and expansion and openness and connection. Beautiful, beautiful. Great. Yeah, I always think in terms of, when I'm working with a big audience, there's usually sort of the the big two. There's chocolate and there's sex.
Yeah, that's good too.
Of course, you've done all that craving tapping, so maybe
Yeah, I
chocolate doesn't
mean,
count anymore.
I can have those whenever I want.
But so I want you to think: how much energy do you bring to the body and to the life?
Well, I think I want to bring more of that, and I'm trying to bring more of that.
hmm Okay,
And
say more about that.
well, as we tune into this, I can feel that there's this part of me that wants to experience all this yumminess and that desires it, but then I'm holding back from that, and I don't make that. I'm just really. It doesn't feel like I'm really able to shine. This part of me is really
Mm.
able to shine.
Yeah, well, desire does get sort of a bad rap, or so at least pleasure gets a bad rap in our culture sometimes.
Hmm.
Yeah, those darn Puritans.
I'm getting
Okay,
better at that, though. I'm getting a lot better at that. But
yeah.
there's definitely more. I mean, I think for a woman, her like it feels like I have this insatiable appetite for desire, and it's almost so big that it scares me.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, beautiful. All right, now I want to speak to a facet of you that might be a little more sophisticated or sort of, a little bit more targeted in what you're desiring. Okay.
Okay.
So let me speak to the one who seeks the way, and everyone shifting in your chair. And who am I speaking to?
The one who seeks the way.
Okay. And you sort of already spoken to this a little bit, but what are you seeking?
Truth,
Truth?
meaning,
Meaning?
connection,
Connection?
joy.
Joy?
Something else here. There's some like togetherness or something like that, like a global togetherness
Uh-huh.
or
Global togetherness. You could say community or tribe or, just a heartfelt connection with all beings.
hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. A world based on love or connected through love.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like it's like a global shift, I think,
hmm
is what it is. What it is.
hmm Well, perfect. And talk about connecting through love. My 15-year-old boxer just wandered in and said, "Oh, I'm going to join the party here." So he's curling up beside me. So you've been very active. Okay, now I'm hearing that echo again. Would you unplug your headset and just re-plug it in for a minute?
How's that?
Uh, Fabulous. Better.
Okay.
Excellent. So, as the one who seeks the way, you've been really prominent in her life as a
Hmm.
seeker and a teacher.
Yes.
So, what are some of the things that you've studied to help her be such a good seeker?
Well, mostly herself.
Inner truth.
And her truth, yeah. And just being committed to that, to finding those truths, and being, I guess, brave enough to look at everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So seeking courage to have the strength and the will to look at everything in the self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, great. So let me ask you this. So you've been seeking for a long time.
Yes, I have.
So here's an important question. Is it your job to find, or is it another voice's job to find what you've been seeking for?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. No, it feels like this job is just to seek.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my experience, and there might be those momentary flashes of, oh, found it, but then it's up on to the next thing, seeking, seeking,
Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah.
So let
It
me
almost
ask
feels
you,
like it'll lose its job if it finds.
yeah, well, that's a good point. I'm going to lose my job if we find it. Hello, I'm continuing to seek.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, you ready to do a little tapping?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so everybody, let's do some tapping here. I am the voice of desire,
I am the voice of desire,
and I am the one who seeks the way.
and I am the one who seeks the way.
I desire so much
I desire so much
the pleasures of the body,
the pleasures of the body,
silks and bubbles,
silks and bubbles,
delicious foods,
delicious foods,
exotic vacations,
exotic vacations.
and I desire so much more
And I desire so much more,
yumminess,
so much more yumminess,
good friends,
good friends,
heartfelt conversations.
heartfelt conversations.
I'm looking for truth,
I'm looking for truth,
freedom,
freedom,
meaning,
meaning,
purpose,
purpose,
a love connection around the world.
a love connection around the world.
The entire world shifting to a vibration of love.
The entire world shifting to a vibration of love.
I am seeking, seeking, seeking.
I am seeking, seeking, seeking.
And all the things I've studied on the way.
And all the things I've studied on the way.
All the different ways that I have sought and sought and sought.
All the different ways that I've sought and sought and sought.
Somebody else's job to find.
It's somebody else's job to find.
I'd be out of a job if we found.
I'd be out of a job if we found.
So I keep seeking.
So I keep seeking.
And I bring a lot of energy to the body.
And I bring a lot of energy to the body.
I mean, look at all the great things I brought to the self.
And look at all the great things I brought to the self.
All the amazing workshops and seminars.
All the amazing workshops and seminars.
The great, amazing spiritual teachers we've met.
The great, amazing spiritual teachers we've met.
And all the groovy people we've shared those classes with.
And all the groovy people we've shared those classes with.
It's helped make me an international teacher.
It has helped make me an international teacher.
All my students and subscribers.
All my students and subscribers.
I'm the voice that's so responsible for that.
I'm the voice that's so responsible for that.
I've made her an expert in so many things.
I've made her an expert in so many things.
Because I am seeking, seeking, seeking.
Because I'm seeking, seeking, seeking.
Seeking truth.
Seeking truth.
Seeking happiness.
Seeking happiness.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Seeking, seeking, seeking.
Seeking, seeking, seeking.
And I do a good job for the self.
And I do a good job for the self.
Even though I know she'd like to find once in a while.
Even though I know she'd like to find once in a while.
That's somebody else's job.
That's somebody else's job.
But I keep seeking.
But I keep seeking.
And take a breath. Sit upright. have a sip of water, yawn.
God, I'm like, I feel tired, man. I'm tired.
All
Walking and
that.
speaking.
Well, that's one thing people often comment about this voice. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of drive, but then there's like, man, I am weary. I have been looking everywhere.
It's been a long journey. Can I take a nap?
Excellent. What do you sense? What do you feel? And people in the chat,
Well,
what do you sense and feel? Put that in the chat for us.
it's really amazing because just being tuned into that part of me, I can feel how there's this like this seeking, but it's almost coming from a place of gotta get there, I gotta get there, I gotta get there. And I can take a step back and I can just kind of feel calm and know that the seeker is there, but I don't feel like I have this, gotta get to the finish line kind of feeling. It's just more like, okay, let's just seek and enjoy the journey as we seek.
Yeah. So your point is something important. So there's that, you can see that sort of the one who seeks the way, it sort of has a manic quality almost.
Yeah.
And some people even talk about having an addictive quality to it.
It feels like that, compulsive. Yeah.
And then, but you're talking also about being able to sort of step back and see that voice, say, hey, we can seek, but we can chill, we can relax, we can enjoy the process more.
Yeah.
So that's already starting to sort of be that teasing out of that voice of wisdom that's able to watch this one who seeks the way in its mania.
Yeah.
And go there. So good.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because, especially with tappers, I was just thinking about this the other day. My friend Jean wrote a good article about this, but I think you can kind of get addicted to this type of work. And especially with tapping, you're always looking for the problems. You're always looking for the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I just could feel myself separate from that quality for a minute and just, go, okay, let's just chill and let's just be with us.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we got some nice comments coming in, but I promise in about 5 minutes, we're going to make that shift into finding and into the flip side of that. So Tony says, I want to search some more. Karen is ready to let the finder do a little more. I'm getting a little tired of the go, go, go. Jody is wandering. Yes, we're all part of the diaspora here. We've been looking under a lot of different stones. Cheryl says, calming and peaceful. And this is a big part of me. Well, me too, Cheryl. Beth, relaxed, ready to chill a bit. Cliff says, tuned into my real self. Tony says, also tired of the go, go, go. I love being so multifaceted. Never thought of it in these terms before. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Sharia said, afraid to seek. Absolutely. One of the great paradoxes is, there's one thing of being afraid to seek, but it's even more afraid of finding. It's easy to sort of, okay, I can get caught in that mania of seeking, but wow, finding, man, that really changes the game. If I am able to find my true self, I am able to find my soul purpose, then I've got the responsibility. I've got to step up to that. So that really changes the game there. So, all right. Well, we've been building up about the shifting in consciousness. So are you ready to cross that Grand Canyon of consciousness from the personal self, the separate self, into one of the enlightened voices?
Yes.
Everybody in the chat, are you ready to make that shift? Are you ready to go and ready to tap? So I know we've been building it up here. So now it's time to deliver. All right, everybody, shifting in your chairs, and let me speak to a voice called the stillness of pure being. And who am I speaking to?
The stillness of pure being.
Okay, now I actually want you to tap with me. I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness at the heart of all stillness.
I am the stillness at the heart of all stillness.
I am the stillness at the heart of all the created universes.
I am the stillness at the heart of all the creative universes.
I am beyond the beyond.
I am beyond the beyond.
I am beyond the Alpha and the Omega.
I'm beyond the Alpha and the Omega.
I am beyond all beginnings and endings.
I'm beyond all beginnings and endings.
I am beyond all borders and boundaries.
I am beyond all borders and boundaries.
I am beyond all birth.
I am beyond all birth.
And I am beyond all death.
And I am beyond all death.
I am beyond the beyond.
I am beyond the beyond.
I am vast spaciousness.
I am vast spaciousness.
I am eternal emptiness.
I am eternal emptiness.
I am infinite nothingness.
I am infinite nothingness.
I am the field of pure potentiality.
I am the field of pure potentiality.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the nothingness that gives birth to nothingness.
I am the nothingness that gives birth to nothingness.
And I am the great paradox.
And I am the great paradox.
I am the nothingness that gives birth to all things.
I am the nothingness that gives birth to all things.
And all things dissolve into my nothingness.
And all things dissolve into my nothingness.
Universes.
Universes.
Galaxies.
Galaxies.
Solar systems.
Solar systems.
Stars.
Stars.
Worlds.
Worlds.
Bodies.
Bodies.
And beings.
And beings.
All arise within me.
All arise within me.
And all dissolve within me.
And all dissolve within me.
They disappear into my stillness.
They disappear into my stillness.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the great witness.
I am the great witness.
Watching the rising and falling of all things.
Watching the rising and falling of all things.
I am non-attachment.
I am non-attachment.
I am the impersonal self.
I am the impersonal self.
The stillness of pure being.
The stillness of pure being.
Exquisite stillness.
Exquisite stillness. Beyond meditation.
The personal self.
The personal self.
Is just a speck within the created universes.
It's just a speck within the creative universes.
And I am the universal intelligence.
And I am the universal intelligence.
That moves all things.
That moves all things.
And returns them to my stillness.
And returns them to my stillness.
I am expansive.
I am expansive.
Open.
Open.
Free.
Free.
Beyond borders and boundaries.
Beyond borders and boundaries.
I am vast spaciousness.
I am vast spaciousness.
I am the stillness of pure being.
I am the stillness of pure being.
And take a breath, shake that out, and coming to sitting upright, just very relaxed, and take a moment to just tune into the sensations of your breath and tune into the rising and the falling of your breath. And sensing that pause between each rising and falling, and each falling and rising. And sensing that pause expanding and opening within you, moving beyond every border and boundary within your awareness, opening to vast spaciousness, infinite nothingness. Taking a moment to let the high vibration of this voice, and the sacred words of this voice resonate completely through you, through your entire being. And for those of you in our worldwide audience, if you'd like to share what you're sensing and feeling as the stillness of pure being, please enter it into the chat while we focus on Brittany. What are you sensing, my dear?
This is just incredible. I just, again, want to like curl up inside of this and stay here forever. I feel this just expansiveness, this connection with everything. And I feel like pure light. And I don't even really feel like I'm in my body. I feel like I've transcended my body. And I'm kind of one with the air around me and with the everything.
Mm.
Yeah, and I can literally feel myself, actual like energy of me, my body expanded out to like all the corners of my house.
And invite you, can you even sense the borders and boundaries of yourself, even moving beyond the house?
Oh yeah, I like I said, I mean, I feel it like connected with everything, but I can actually sense it like way out far.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Phyllis says, I am the creator of all. Bess is quiet, still, expanded. S says, I feel the crown chakra spinning and feel something surrounding my head. Nicolene, peaceful bliss. Tony, a wide range of emptiness, beautiful. Janine, pure light and pure darkness, absolutely. That's why I focus on the nothingness so much. It's like so beautiful. Well, if we were at a retreat, we would have the luxury of sitting here and allowing you to curl up into it for an hour or two or a day.
I know.
But since this is a demonstration and we've got a couple more voices to speak to,
Cool.
So are you ready to move on and speak to another voice?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to just say a couple more things. Mary said to be everything and nothing at the same time. Isn't that just a delicious sensation to be everything and nothing at the same time? Karen says connected to source and God energy. Janine says out in the far corners of the universe. Tony says everything is louder. Jody says very peaceful, beautiful. Thank you all so much for sharing that with us. But now let's sort of take it to the next level.
Okay.
So let me speak to the Divine Mother. And shifting in your chairs, everyone. And when you're ready, who am I speaking to?
The Divine Mother.
And tapping with me. I am the Divine Mother.
I am the Divine Mother.
I am the unconditional love of the Divine Mother.
I am the unconditional love of the Divine Mother.
I am the luminous light and love at the heart of all the created universes.
I'm the luminous light and love at the heart of all the creative universes.
My heart center.
My heart center.
Is the center of every conscious being.
Is the center of every conscious being.
I too am beyond the beyond.
I too am beyond the beyond.
Vast spaciousness.
Vast spaciousness.
Eternal emptiness.
Eternal emptiness.
Infinite nothingness.
Infinite nothingness.
And it is through me and my loving.
And it is through me and my loving.
That I give give birth to reality.
That I give birth to reality.
That I turn energy into matter itself.
That I turn energy into matter itself.
I give birth to the 5 elements.
I give birth to the 5 elements.
Earth.
Earth.
Water.
Water.
Fire.
Fire.
Air.
Air.
And ether.
And ether.
I give birth to time and space.
I give birth to time and space.
I give birth to past, present, and future.
I give birth to past, present, and future.
I give birth to the 10 directions.
I give birth to the 10 directions.
Heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth.
The 4 cardinal points.
4 cardinal points.
And all the directions in between.
And all the directions in between.
I am the Divine Mother.
I am the Divine Mother.
And I love all of my creation.
And I love all of my creation.
My sacred love song.
My sacred love song.
The great Om.
The great Om.
Is heard in every corner of creation.
Is heard in every corner of creation.
The universes themselves are my body.
The universes themselves are my body.
And it is through my loving.
And it is through my loving.
That all conscious beings come to wholeness.
That all conscious beings come to wholeness.
I love all of my children equally.
I love all of my children equally.
Minerals.
Minerals.
Plants.
Plants.
Animals.
Animals.
Humans.
Humans.
Angels.
Angels.
I hold them all intimately in my bosom.
I hold them all intimately in my bosom.
And I love them equally.
And I love them equally.
I love the pirate and the thug and the bully.
I love the pirate and the thug and the bully.
As equally as my sacred saints.
As equally as my sacred saints.
It is through my luminous light and love.
It's through my luminous light and love.
That all consciousness is made whole.
That all consciousness is made whole.
I hold all suffering in my heart.
I hold all suffering in my heart.
And I wield the sword of compassion.
And I wield the sword of compassion.
To heal all ignorance and suffering.
To heal all ignorance and suffering.
And it is through my being.
And it is through my being.
That every conscious being comes to its wholeness.
That every conscious being comes to its wholeness.
I am the Divine Mother.
I am the Divine Mother.
I am fierce as a grandmother's love.
I am fierce as a grandmother's love.
And as intimate with a newborn.
As intimate as a newborn.
I am the unconditional love of the Divine Mother.
I am the unconditional love of the Divine Mother.
And my heart center.
In my heart center.
Is the heart center of every conscious being.
Is the heart center of every conscious being.
The heart center of every spinning universe.
The heart center of every spinning universe.
It is my divine love.
It is my divine love.
That moves universes in their orbit.
That moves universes in their orbit.
And nourishes every soul.
And nourishes every soul.
Embodying its soul purpose.
Embodying its soul purpose.
In its journey to oneness and wholeness.
And its journey to oneness and wholeness.
And reunion with me.
And reunion with me.
The Divine Mother.
The Divine Mother.
And shaking that out. Taking a breath, sitting upright. Allowing the high vibration of this voice, and the sacred words of this voice to just resonate through your entire being. And allowing your own heart center, luminous as a star, luminous as a Milky Way, pulsing your luminous light and love.
You know, I'm really having a sense of my energy like be wrapping around the world, like I forget which voice it was, the desire, the
The
seeker.
desire, there's one that seeks the way.
The one that seeks the way was the one that wanted the connection of the world. And that's exactly what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that connection.
I am the connection of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't it delicious?
it is. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Yeah, and I just feel that like yumminess, like that the yumminess that the desire was talking about. I can feel that without even having my desires. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that like yummy fluid feminine kind of energy. That's the yumminess that I was talking about. And yeah, that's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. What are some of the other people saying?
Uh, Cherie says floating. Katie says peaceful. Mary says I was lonely as the stillness of pure being, but now I am fulfilled. And that's a really wonderful distinction, Mary. There's loneliness isn't a word that I would use, but the stillness of pure being is incredibly impersonal. It's really just pure awareness. It's just the presence. In Buddhism they call it the unborn Buddha mind. That is
Mm,
just witnessing, but there's not any real engagement. And in the Divine Mother, there is that intimate connection with all things.
mm,
So yeah, it's like it goes from I'm aware of all things to gee, I'm genuinely connected through my heart to all things.
yeah.
It's really a beautiful distinction. Anyone else in the audience want to share something? Jody says overflowing.
Hmm.
Hmm. One of the important things that I want you to sense and feel, if we look at the world, it can see like, oh my God, there's so much to be done. There's so much pain and suffering and cruelty in the world. So as a divine mother, that gives birth to universes, can you sense that sort of unshakable quality that you have?
Totally. That's a really good way of saying that, describing the feeling that I have.
Yeah.
It's like it's the trust. It's the most trust that I can ever possibly feel.
Uh-huh. And how about like inexhaustible, that no matter how much suffering there is in the world, you have the capacity to hold it in your heart
Yep,
and love it into wholeness and to being.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's that when I read the New York Times every day just to remember what's happening in the world. And so often I have to come into this voice just to be present with the news that's being reported and come to
Mm,
this place and then look for that divine inspiration and action that comes from being present with all that suffering. That's part of why I
mm.
do the work that I do.
It's true, yeah. And that's part of why I love doing what I do too, because I think I channel this, or I get into this divine mother state when I'm tapping with people, when I'm working with people.
Yeah, yeah. Jan says, I am the I am.
Hmm.
Muriel says she is wondering why I haven't trusted her.
Mhm.
Well, Muriel, probably you didn't know how to connect like this to the Divine Mother, and I mean to realize that she's who you want to be when you grow up, and she's already always there for you, loving you, and so now, what I love about the tapping is that we're tapping these voices, these sensations, these states of consciousness into your bones, into your muscles and your connective tissues, into your nervous system and your energy field. So we're opening doors for you, and you can come back through this door over and over and over as often as you want because you've got a sensory experience in your body and you've got it in your mind and your consciousness. So the beauty of this work, and it might take doing it a few times, but with a snap of a fingers you can go, oh, I'm in fear, but oh, now I'm in unconditional love.
Yeah, and you have such a brilliant way. I mean, the words that you use are like, oh my God, it's like poetry.
Well, it comes from about 40 years of reading the mystical poets and, the great sacred writings that have gone before us, along with the cutting edge insights and my own work on the meditation cushion.
Yeah, I mean, you always have the exact perfect phrases for these states.
Yeah, a lot of people sharing things on the chat. So, Janine, all desires fulfilled, bathed in mother's milk. Janine, sometime remind me to tell you a story about mother's milk, but not right now, okay?
Oh God.
I was
That's
famous
crazy.
in my bartender's day for a cocktail named Mother's Milk. So, but Beth says tingling and shimmering all over my body. Um, Lil says, dang it, I missed it. Well, Lil, you'll have access to the replay in a couple of hours. You'll get the link to be able to go back and listen to it. Patty says, I just want to lay down and feel the peace.
Yes.
I am more aware of everything I hear, everything. I felt that the mother was the compassion through all hard times. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we call this an evolutionary meditation, evolutionary enlightenment. And so you ready to really kick it to a whole nother level here, Miss Brittany?
Oh, okay.
So what we've just experienced in classical enlightenment is, that Buddha mind, the stillness of pure being, the awareness, and the divine mother, the heart, but from that incredibly impersonal place. And for thousands of years, that's sort of been, okay, that's it. In the Eastern traditions, particularly in Taoism and Buddhism, they call that your true self. That was the goal. That's who your true self is. But about 200 years ago, we starting to say, hey, there's more to it. And it was happening in Zen. There was a Zen master called Tozan who talked about a next level. Aurobindo in India started writing about evolutionary consciousness and enlightenment. The writers of the Kabbalah and teachers of the Kabbalah in the Jewish mystical tradition, the Sufi masters, Teilhard de Chardin, who was a Catholic priest in the 1950s, was talking about a level of evolutionary enlightenment. And so what I want you to do is imagine we talk to some voices of the separate self, the controller, the one who seeks the way, the voice of desire, and then we cross that Grand Canyon of consciousness and we talk to the stillness of pure being and the divine mother. Well, I want you to imagine that is a pyramid, the foundation of a pyramid, and now we're going to go to the peak of the pyramid, the apex of consciousness that transcends and includes and integrates all aspects of consciousness. So, Brittany, you ready to make the leap? Everybody, you ready to make the leap? Okay, great. So please allow me to speak to the rainbow unique self. And shifting in your chairs, this is one of those, koans, rainbow unique self. What the heck is that? And tap with me. I am the rainbow unique self.
I am the rainbow of unique self.
I transcend, include, and integrate.
I transcend, include, and integrate
all aspects of the separate self.
All aspects of the separate self.
The 10,000 voices of the separate self.
The 10,000 voices of the separate self.
The controller and the protector.
The controller and the protector.
The skeptic and the cynic.
The skeptic and the cynic.
The wounded self and the pain body.
The wounded self and the pain body.
The vulnerable child.
The vulnerable child.
The golden child.
The golden child.
The one who seeks the way.
The one who seeks the way.
I hold them all.
I hold them all.
All the voices that are so dangerous, they're still locked in the dungeon.
All the voices are so dangerous, they're still locked in the dungeon.
And those that are young and immature and kept in the basement.
Those that are young and immature are kept in the basement.
And those that are quite competent and mature.
And those that are quite competent and mature.
And those that are wise and even approaching their own enlightenment.
And those that are wise and even approaching their own enlightenment.
I hold them all with love, appreciation, and respect.
I hold them all with love, appreciation, and respect.
I transcend, include, and integrate
I transcend, include, and integrate
all the enlightened voices,
all the enlightened voices,
the impersonal self,
the impersonal self,
unconditional love,
unconditional love,
the witness,
the witness,
not attachment,
non-attachment,
the stillness of pure being,
the stillness of pure being,
unborn Buddha mind,
unborn Buddha mind,
God mind,
God mind,
overmind,
overmind,
the divine mother,
the divine mother,
the sword of compassion,
the sword of compassion,
the warrior priestess,
the warrior priestess,
big heart,
big heart,
the fully integrated divine mother,
the fully integrated divine mother,
all the enlightened qualities of the archetypes,
all the enlightened qualities of the archetypes,
the enlightened qualities of the gods and goddesses.
the enlightened qualities of the gods and goddesses.
I fully transcend and include all of them.
I fully transcend and include all of them.
I am fully embodied.
I am fully embodied.
I am fully enlightened,
I'm fully enlightened.
fully engaged,
Fully engaged.
and fully present.
And fully present.
I am the rainbow unique self.
I am the rainbow unique self.
My energy body,
My energy body,
all of my chakras,
all of my chakras,
and my meridians
and my meridians
are luminous with rainbow light.
are luminous with rainbow light.
From infrared to ultraviolet,
From infrared to ultraviolet.
all of my chakras pulsing with vibrant light,
All my chakras pulsing with vibrant light,
color, and texture.
color, and texture.
Every breath and every gesture
Every breath and every gesture
reflects my rainbow unique self.
reflects my rainbow unique self.
I fully embody my soul purpose,
I fully embody my soul purpose,
and that every action,
and that every action,
every divine inspired action
every divine inspired action
is the embodiment of my soul purpose.
is the embodiment of my soul purpose.
Love and compassion,
Love and compassion,
presence and awareness,
presence and awareness,
and wisdom.
and wisdom.
In 13.5 billion years of evolution,
In 13.5 billion years of evolution,
I am unique.
I am unique.
There has never been a soul
There's never been a soul
with my vibrational signature,
with my vibrational signature,
with my skills and talents,
with my skills and talents,
and I bring them now
and I bring them now
to the service of the highest universal good.
to the service of the highest universal good.
And as I heal and come to wholeness,
And as I heal and come to wholeness,
as I evolve and grow,
as I evolve and grow,
the universe also heals and grows and evolves
the universe also heals and grows and evolves
and expands into oneness.
and expands into oneness.
In this way, I co-create with the universe itself.
In this way, I co-create with the universe itself.
I co-create with evolution itself.
I co-create with evolution itself.
I dance with the universes.
I dance with the universes.
I create a symphony with all the other unique souls,
I create a symphony with all the other unique souls,
connected through our luminous hearts
connected through our luminous hearts
in this extraordinary time.
in this extraordinary time.
As I take responsibility for my own being,
As I take responsibility for my own being,
my own enlightenment,
my own enlightenment,
my own embodiment,
my own embodiment.
I am the rainbow unique self.
I am the rainbow unique self.
Extraordinary,
Extraordinary,
fabulous,
fabulous,
beautiful,
beautiful,
radiant,
radiant,
and unique.
and unique.
And take a breath and shake that out. letting the high vibration of this voice through my own testing of Dr. Hawkins' scale, the unique self voices all are at the high 700s, low 800s. So letting this amazing high vibrational voice and the sacred words of this voice ripple, shimmer through your entire being, opening and expanding every part of your consciousness.
Yeah, for me, I feel a lot. I mean, I've been feeling stillness here, but there's a different quality of the stillness now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm more like up in the ethers now. Still connected with everything. But yeah, there's just this different quality about this.
Yeah, one of the we got a little echo. Can you unplug your headphones again just for a second?
Better?
Yeah, beautiful, fabulous. Thank you. So this is a test that I always give myself when I move and shift to the one of the unique self, the pinnacle of the pyramid voices, and is can I be and sense into that infinite openness? So can I be present to the infinity, and yet can I be in my bones and present in the moment at the same time?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like I'm here, but I'm there, and I don't feel separate from anything.
Yeah, and to me that this it's about the most delicious sensation in my whole life is to be able to feel both of these simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's a great way to put it.
yeah, let me see what other people are coming in. Brooke says amazing. So what do I do if what you're tapping on doesn't agree with my religious beliefs? Um, I would say just trust and see if you can find the truth that's essential in the words and in the voice, and find what's true there.
And I would say also feel into the energy of it too. You know, the words might not match with your religious beliefs, but you know, I know most, if you're here in my community, most of you people are very, very much feelers. So just feel into the words. It doesn't, you know, feel into the energy that we're bringing in with the words. Maybe the words don't match for you, but just feel the energy of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lil, I just want to say thanks for hanging in there and being with us and coming this far in the process,
Yeah.
with a sense of that you're stretching through the boundaries. My experience. I'm a student of all truth and all wisdom. I've studied, the message of Jesus and the Christian mystics, the Sufis and the poetry of Rumi, the great Chinese Taoist teachers, the Buddhist teachers, the Hindu teachers, the kahunas, the Native American shamans, the Aborigines in Australia. I'm a student of truth. And so, and I love all the great teachers of truth. And that's sort of what informs the Enlightened. I mean, that's where this poetry comes from. These words come from that opening and surrendering to truth. So, I love. Jody says, "Wow." Mary says, "You have taken us apart and put us back together in the heart." Beautiful. I love that. Janine says, "I feel like a diamond, solid yet pure light, all colors of the spectrum yet clear." That's beautiful. I'm thinking of that song from Rihanna, and we are diamonds. We are diamonds.
Yeah.
So, okay. And Patty says, "Thank you for asking that, Lil. Beautiful." See, I always say, if you have, some concern, please ask it, because you're speaking for other people that haven't posed a question yet, or that are contributing with their silence but haven't asked a question yet. So
Yeah.
we're actually about an hour and 40 minutes into our demonstration here, Miss Brittany. So anything you
Well,
want to share before we?
I would just love, I mean, I'm sure everybody has questions, or I'm sure there's a few people there that have questions that they haven't been able to answer yet. Do you want to do some Q&A right now? Just take some questions from people?
How about if I make an invitation, a short
Okay.
invitation, and
Yeah.
then we'll do some Q&A. But I love what Jody said. The wording doesn't agree with my religious beliefs, but the energy is all from a creative source of God. And I
Mm,
think that sort of, Jody said exactly what I was trying to say is, and
that's, yeah,
yeah, and what you were trying to say, feel into the energy. And
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, we could do an entire experience of just working within the Christian tradition and working with the great desert teachers at the time of Christ, and certainly Mother Mary, and there's every tradition has facets of these voices.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, yeah. So, Alan, so tell us how we can go take this further. I mean, there's no, for me, I feel like you have just the perfect words for this, and you've created these scripts and you've spent your whole life coming up with the language for this. So, how can we dive deeper into this, and how can we go further with you?
Well, first, I want to say that everybody that's on the call, the webinar today, will um, have access to the replay. So you can come back over and
Great.
over and over and just watch the replay, just knowing that the tapping starts about 30 minutes into it,
Okay.
particularly after all the sound stuff. So
Great.
that's the first way that you can to share it. And then you have my Enlightened Tapping Meditation Home Study course, which, Brittany is a part of.
I am. It's absolutely mind blowing.
And so I just want to say, we made a promise, and you guys have been on here an hour and 40 minutes. So thank you for your time and attention. And I feel like we've delivered on our promise to introduce you to Enlightened Tapping and give you an experience. And I'm so honored and proud to have, to help open these doors for you and create these neural pathways in your own mind where you can come back over and over and over to these facets and aspects of truth within your own being. So before we dive in, I just want to share a couple of things that people are saying about the Enlightened Tapping work. This is Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is considered the grande dame of evolutionary consciousness. She's written many books. She was actually a Democratic nominee for vice president at one time. And she has, in her work, Homo co-creator is the pinnacle of, the next stage of human evolution, going from Homo sapien to Homo co-creator. And she's been writing about this for over 20 years. I had the privilege to share Enlightened Tapping with her in her living room with a small group of people. And so I said, okay, let's speak to the voice of Homo co-creator. And so we tapped with the voice, we dialogued with the voice, and a few minutes later, she jumped up off the couch and said, "Oh my God, I have been writing about this for over 20 years, but this is the first time I've actually felt it from the inside out."
Mm,
And she later said, if humanity is going to solve the crises that are facing us, we all need massive tapping so that we can move into Homo co-creator. So that was a wonderful sharing from her. This is Lori Layden, who is the director of the Tapping Solution Foundation and the creator of Project Light Rwanda. And she's had extraordinary success with helping orphans and widows of genocide in Rwanda to heal their wounds with tapping and her grace process. And she's a big supporter of Enlightened Tapping, and she says that Enlightened Tapping really is just the future of tapping. This is Sheila Paxton, and she says something here that I hear over and over and over again, in that she is very publicly talks about being an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic, and has been in recovery for over 20 years. And as you may know, meditation is an important step in the 12 steps. And she talks about that in 20 years, she had a love-hate relationship with meditation. She tried transcendental meditation, mindfulness, Kundalini meditation, and none of them helped her deal with her monkey mind. And in 20 minutes of enlightened tapping, she was able to go to a place that she had never been to in 20 years of trying to meditate. And I just hear that over and over and over from people, that other techniques that take so long and are so difficult to master, the enlightened tapping really helps them with that. So here is the Enlightened Tapping Meditation Home Study course. It is 6 modules designed to be experienced over 6 weeks. Now you get the entire training at one time. You have full access to the whole thing when you log in. And it was a one-day experience that I filmed. I invited some friends to Boston to film it in one day, and we filmed the entire thing. And so it's me facilitating a group of people. So you would be, tapping and working. You'll hear how other people in the audience, share about the different voices. Every module is that experience of going from the voices of the separate self to the enlightened voices, and then going to the peak of the pyramid with one of the unique self voices. So every module, you get that whole experience, because I want you to over and over and over get this for yourself, and for you to be able to start doing it for yourself. Now, the first week we focus on the controller. The second module we focus on the protector. The third module we focus on the wounded self and the innocent and vulnerable child. And again, each of those weeks we focus on the voices of the separate self, but you're always getting the experience of the enlightened voices to hold them and work with them, and then going to the peak of the pyramid. And then in the week number 4, we start to shift and work more with the Divine Father, that awareness, that presence quality. And then we work with the Divine Mother in week number 5. And then week number 6 is actually just an extraordinary module in and of itself. It's the 5 stages of enlightenment. You have full access to the training. You have lifetime access to the website, but you can also download the videos to your computer, your smartphone, your tablet, whatever. You also get a workbook. It's a 250-page workbook that is a transcription of the entire course, but most importantly, all the tapping scripts that we use are actually typed out for you, so you can flip through and go and repeat and tap for yourself using the tapping scripts in the workbook.
I know that was the part that I really found useful, was like, okay, I'm feeling like this. I'm kind of struggling with my controller. I'm struggling with my, ability to tap into my feminine right now. And I was able to just go to that piece and read your words, because I couldn't come up with my own words for this. So having that was, for me, super, super handy, because I was just able to go right to it, tap into it, and then clear it and get into that state.
Yeah, and then there's another tool in a minute that's going to really help you with that too. But, for me, a lot of people say, oh, Alan, these words are so easy for you. I said, well, yeah, I've been reading for 40 years and studying and memorizing and learning. But to have them on paper, that's part of how you start to, find the words for your controller. And I invite you to start listening to your own truths about these voices and tap them into, what we're saying. Mm-hmm. So then there's a series of bonuses that goes with the home study course. It is, there's 6 live tapping calls with me, very similar to what we've just done with Brittany, sort of walking you through the training, not 100%, because I'll be sharing with you my latest insights and understanding of the voices and new voices and different voices that are actually in the training itself. So you get that. You get a free ticket to my Enlightened Tapping Experience event in Houston, and I'm hoping Brittany will fly up from Mexico and join us for that.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask you if you were gonna do this live, because this is just such a cool experience live.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's designed to be live, and Brittany got to experience, with a group of about 20 people. And there's just, if you had an experience at home by yourself just with what we did, imagine what being in a group of 250 people is going to be like.
Oh
And
yeah.
not only doing it for, an hour and a half, but doing it for a day and doing it for 3 whole days. And we'll be practicing. There'll be movement twice a day to help you embody these amazing states. So again, I'm all about how do you make this from an amazing state to a permanent trait.
Awesome. I love it.
And then here's the part of the program that I'm actually most proud of, and that this is how you start to make a daily practice out of it, or a regular meditation practice. We took the actual tapping from all the major voices, and then we added 5 minutes of meditation, silent meditation. So those are in video, those are in audio. So and they're all divided in the voices of the separate self, the voices of the enlightened self, and then the pinnacle of the pyramid, the apex voices, the unique self voices. They're all separated. So you can make your own mixtape. You can work with many of the different voices of the separate self as you feel called to, and all the different delicious qualities of the enlightened voices and the unique self voices. So you can make your own playlist. Again, you can download them in audio or video to your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, or you can stream them, from the web, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, and I find that tool very useful because, if you're having a bad day, or if you don't feel good, or if you need to change your vibration, it's so hard to, shift your vibration by yourself. And, you can pop that in, you can go through the tapping, you can listen to Alan. I mean, he's literally just walking you through what we just did on demand. So I love that. I love that, Alan.
Well, and the goal, my goal, is that in your regular practice, we always start with the voice of the controller. And once you get the hang of this process, tapping with the controller, and then you can be an enlightened voice in an enlightened state within 5 minutes, or certainly in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I usually have my morning practice that what I personally do is I do the voice of the controller. I don't use the 5 minutes of silence with the controller because I've tapped so much with that voice. And I use one of the other voices of the separate self, and then I do sit in 5 minutes of silence with it. Then I move to the enlightened voices in sort of one of the divine father qualities and sit in silence. Then I tap with one of the divine mother qualities and sit in silence. And then I move to one of the voices at the peak of the pyramid and then sit in silence. It takes me about 35 minutes. That's my practice. But my vibration is at high 700 or 800 to start my day.
Yeah.
Imagine what setting your intentions for your day, setting your goals for your day would be if you were in that high vibration, and cloaking your intentions with that energy. And then, if something comes up and I find that, I get hijacked by a toxic emotion, an old memory or something gets triggered, and I realize, oh man, I have sure dropped on the scale of vibration here. Since I've already worked through the day, I can go, okay, let me speak to the stillness of your being, and I can just tap right there. Let me speak to the divine mother. Let me speak to the rainbow unique self. Since I've already had my practice, I've already greased the wheels for the day. It's like, man, I can shift in. One of my favorite students calls this enlightenment at your fingertips. So literally in 2 minutes of tapping, you can reconnect to this high vibration of a voice and completely change your vibration. So it's a wonderful tool. So another bonus that you get, this is the book that I authored that Brittany mentioned, the #1 best-selling health and wellness book. I think it reached number 7 on the Barnes & Noble Top 100 Books the week it came out. And it won 2 National Book of the Year awards. Wherever you are in the world, we are going to send you a physical copy of the book. book so that you have it, because it is about, this is sort of your foundation of how to start to embody these amazing states and how do you work with sensation and the different parts of your body. And it's also, I'm proud to say, one of the most beautiful books in the universe.
It is.
Also, we have the Enlightened Tapping Meditation Facebook group. It is exclusive to people who've bought the program, and we just finished a 30-day challenge. So a group of people committed to use Enlightened Tapping for 30 days sequentially, and we ran that whole challenge through the Facebook group. And I'm telling you, the group was on fire. And even if you just tapped once in that 30 days, that's a success. I think. But there were people who tapped the whole 30 days. Some did 29, some did 28. But the extraordinary transformation that they shared, that they went through using these this tapping with these high vibrational voices. You get my triple guarantee. The first is the standard 30 days, no questions asked. If for whatever reason you don't feel like it's right for you, send us an email, no questions asked, you get your refund. The second is, I promise you an enlightened experience. So if you do the entire home study course, you try one of the modules or two of the modules, you don't get an experience, I'll refund your money. My third guarantee is, I will work with you personally. Get on the bonus calls live with me. You'll have a chance to be an echo. You'll have a chance to ask your questions live. Or come to the live event. I will work with you and facilitate you personally. I'll even get on the phone with you one-on-one for 15 or 30 minutes to facilitate you and see. In my experience is that 99% of the time, people, we get stuck in particular voices. And with just a little facilitation, a little compassion and patience, we can loosen all that up, and you can actually shift and have your transcendent, enlightened experience. So that's my guarantee. The investment for the entire package this evening as one of Brittany's subscribers and students is $197. And let me go ahead and okay, I forgot. I had to pop back in, so there we go. You should see now under your chat a nice image with a little add to cart button, and then also there is the website URL if you need it, enlightenedtappingmeditation.com/yes. So I do want to come over and answer any questions that people have. Let me see.
I saw a really great question. While you shift gears there, I can just read you some of the questions. Nicolene asked, how do you know what vibration you're at?
So there are a couple of ways. One, you can actually, if you just go to Google Images, and do David Hawkins' map of consciousness, you're going to see some beautiful pictures of people who've illustrated that map. And he goes through and one of the things he lists are the different emotions and their vibrational equal. So, Nicolene, one of the ways to notice is as you begin to spend more time in these enlightened voices and these subtle as you get more familiar with these qualities of joy and ecstasy and peace and love, you can start to look at it like, oh, I'm at about this vibration. So that's sort of a general way just to start knowing yourself. Another way that David Hawkins taught was muscle testing. And we use muscle testing to establish what vibration these voices are. And so that's another way to test. And you can do self muscle testing, or you can certainly use, have somebody muscle test you that understands how to put that in the context of the map of consciousness and that scale of 0 to 1,000. So those are a couple of ways to do it. And, then once you sort of see it and experience it and you kind of trust that, okay, these voices are at around these vibrations, you just start to feel them and get a sense of where on the spectrum you are. there, all the enlightened voices have this quality of expansion and openness and presence to them. And the minute I start to sense my body contracting in any way to any person that comes into my field, or any circumstance that arises, or even a memory, and I start to contract, I realize, oh, I've gone back to my separate self. I've gone back to this place of fear. And what do I need to do to be present to that and work with it in a skillful way so that I can shift back into my peaceful and blissful self? So that's a couple ways, Nicolene, to work with that. And that's a great question. Thank you.
That's a great question. So Carmela has another question. She says, can the generational family constellation figures be tapped on as the voices?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, Carmela, but let me take a stab at what I think you mean and then see if I'm on the right track here. We talked about archetypes a few minutes ago. And, obviously the great generational qualities. And it's sort of like the distinction between Jesus, the man, and Christ, the healer and the teacher. And so, that's an archetype of the man versus, what is the full potential of Jesus in his Christ, and the burning heart of Jesus. And that Christ consciousness that pulses. So I think in terms of my own family, I think about the great archetypes through my family and some of the great sort of characters and who they were and what were the qualities that they had that are helpful to me at this point. I also have a process that we do in the live event where actually you can, in the present moment, work with your entire lineage, your mother's lineage and your father's lineage, and heal the entire line of some particular wound or defense mechanism that you've had and worked with in your own life. So wow. It's an amazing thing to, and what I also do is not only is from your mother's lineage and your father's lineage, but we actually clear it from all your past lives, and we also clear it and heal it from any future incarnations that you have, if you happen to believe in reincarnation. So that's a great question, Carmela, and I hope I've done some justice to it. But I think in terms of the matriarchs and patriarchs of our family, and it was the qualities, it was the courage, it was the strength, it was the love, it was the kindness, it was the compassion, it was the fierceness that they had to exhibit that made them famous in the family in the first place. And we can obviously move into those aspects of our own being, those archetypes within ourselves, and tap them in and make them allies to help us. So absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to also read some of the feedback that we got. We had a lot of people that said, thank you very much. Nicolene said, you've over-delivered. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan and Brittany. My experience was definitely very enlightening. Thank you, Alan and Britt. Britt, your webinars are so useful. So just a lot of people, thank you. It was very transformational. Just a lot of people really loved what you showed us today. So thank you, Alan. And thank you, too, for giving us such a great price. I think you're giving us an incredible deal. I thought it was $497, and then when you said it was $197, I just thank you for giving us that special offer. And, for the product that you're giving us, I think that is absolutely an incredible price. So right. I know you can sell it for a lot more than that. And for the ticket to your live event and all of that, it's very, very generous of you. So
thank you. Well, I was working with Toby Alexander a few months ago, and he said, Alan, if your course does everything you say it does, which everyone on the webinar here has had the experience of it, it says you need to be charging about 40 times what you're charging for this. And I said, well, I'm not quite ready to go there yet, but thank you for that. But
well, you could. So, this is our chance to get in while, you're still kind of, getting your feet wet and while we can get it at this price. So, yeah. So anybody that's interested, I would absolutely recommend jumping in on this. I have access to the program myself. It is amazing. I can't wait to come to your live event. Yes, I will be there. Just the ticket to your live event. This is worth so much more than you're actually selling it for. So thank you, Alan, for doing that for us.
Yeah, and I can tell you there are people coming from all over the world for the live event.
That's so cool. I'm so excited.
And I have studied this process since 2006 when I met Genpo Roshi and started the Big Mind, and the tapping just adds jet fuel to it. It really does. And so to be in a room of 100 people that are doing this work is just the most soul nourishing thing that I've ever done. And so imagine what it would be like for you to come and be 3 days in this cocoon of amazing energy and moving your body and embodying these amazing states and being with just a couple of Tristan Trescott is going to do Qigong movement every day. I'm going to lead meditations in the silent meditations in the morning. Helen Terry is a friend of mine. She's a great Nia teacher, dance teacher, but it's a very somatic, body-centered dance, but also very ecstatic and fun. So, there's going to be so much movement and music and meditation and just really working with all these different parts of ourselves. So you're invited to come, and it's part of the program. So
awesome. I love it. And you're right. My first experience was with you live in a room full of people, and I can definitely say that it is a very different experience, and I would totally say yes to coming back. It's definitely something that you want to witness in a group environment.
Well, if there's no more comments or questions in the chat, this is last call for questions and things. As I said, you'll have access to the replay. The link will actually be emailed to you in a couple hours once this sort of gets posted and everything. I do also want to say that I'm going to do another 90-minute training tomorrow. If you don't have another thing to do with your life, this is my interview with Brittany tonight, sort of the culmination of a whole week long of interviews. And the training tomorrow is really enlightenment, amazing states to permanent traits. It really is, what are the mechanisms that make this work, and what are the mechanisms that allow you to have this flash of enlightenment, but then how do you make it your permanent everyday way of being? And that's really and how you do it for yourself. I'm happy to be your guide for a little bit, but my job is to make myself disappear as quickly in your spiritual process as possible, so that you are your own spiritual authority and that you are standing in your own power. And so that's my goal for you, is that you are your own rainbow unique self, and that you're co-creating with the universe, and that collectively you and Brittany and I and Margaret Lynch and some of the other amazing teachers, we're all creating a symphony of possibility. Jody said, can we get it later? I'll tell you, yes, the doors are going to be open for the training until Tuesday of next week. And then I will be closing the door. And then, because I believe that when everybody goes through as a group together, that's when the greatest transformation happens. And Carmela says, how do we access tomorrow's session? I'm going to send you a link in the morning, Carmela, so that you can register for tomorrow. So
Nicolene says, you're a remarkably beautiful human being. Thank you for this gift. Oh, that's
really wonderful.
Awesome. Okay, so we have until Tuesday of next week to jump in and to start working with you, and then you're going to be taking an actual live group through. You're going to be closing the door so that you can start the live group. Is that right? Yeah.
So the doors close next Tuesday, and then that 2 days later, that Thursday, is our first live call in the evening. The bonus calls, I think 4 of them are done on Thursday evenings, and then 2 of them are done on Sunday afternoons, so that our friends in Europe and Australia and different places can join us for those.
Sure.
So I try to mix it up a little bit. Thank you, everybody. And Brittany, I just want to say thank you. I know that you're newly married and that you're still celebrating, and for you to take the time out to be with us tonight and hold the space for us. And those that hung in there while we worked out our sound issues. I'm so glad we finally got that resolved. So
me too. Well, thank you for being here. All the thanks is for you. I think this is an incredible experience, and I'm just so happy to be able to share it with the people that are close to me and that like my work. And I just knew it was something that they would love as well. So awesome. Thank you so much, Alan, for being here, and for everybody else that took their time out of their night to be here with us. And you'll get, Alan will be sending you more information about how you can get access to his awesome product. And yeah, send me an email and let me know what you think about it too. I would love to hear your feedback as well.
So thanks, everybody, and good night. And thank you for your time, your attention, the most precious thing that you share with us. And blessings to you on your way.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Good night.